Previously, on Talk That Talk. Because you build relationships, you make connections, you learn. Let's be honest, you learn more at the drum corps than you learn in the Spartan Legion.
Ass band. I'm gonna say it. Ass band. Learn more from drum corps than ass band.
But I disagree with you. And the only reason I disagree with you from the standpoint of the experience is because every single job, not every single gig, like side gigs and stuff like that, every single job I had in my whole life was because of somebody an experience from Norfolk State. My very first teaching job was with John Boyd. Right, exactly. You my best friend. You already know. My very first teaching job was at Princess Anne High School with John Boyd. John Boyd knew me from Norfolk State, and then he saw me in drum corps and was like, "Dang, that's that same dude." My job at Waters was because of my chapter bro for Omega. Rest in peace, Moby Dick, Bill Gibson, a Portsmouth legend. If you from Portsmouth before me, like my generation, like 90s, 80s, you know who Bill Gibson is. He's a legend, and he taught at Norfolk State for a while. He taught tuba. My job here at UConn, I got this job because of recommendations from Dr. Sanford and Dr. Zachary. None of that stuff came from that drum corps experience. Now, what the drum corps experience did do was prepare me to be in every single type of experience. I got the HBCU style, so I knew I could teach at any HBCU in the country. But then the other side is there too. I don't just have to apply to an HBCU. I can apply to said BOA high school. I can apply to all these schools because now I have the necessary requisites to be able to do this job at any level. That's what, in my opinion, Julian, the drum corps experience did.
I got one question for you, and I'm sorry, but I have to ask this question. My question is this: so, do you recommend that as you graduate, if for any HBCU student that is a current music major, do you recommend them have some form of drum corps so that they could be more marketable? Because I do believe with all my heart, the Norfolk teachings and tutelage and attitude and the person who you are, like kind of like push you to become the best, like, you know, like shape you as a young man to the person you are now, and just having that heart and drive. But do you recommend, and would you agree that also your, like you said, your Blue Coats experience also open up another avenue that maybe just Norfolk wouldn't have been afforded you?
But I sort of already answered it in a way, right? Like my Blue Coats experience opened the Mandarin's door for me. I wouldn't be the Mandarin's brass caption head if it wasn't for Blue Coats and those 8 years I spent there and the 2 years I spent teaching cadets. Like that's what that opened the door for. To answer your question, hell no. I don't recommend that all HBCU kids try to march drum corps because it's expensive as fuck. Sorry, like drum corps costs at least $4,000 just for the tuition. Then you talking about traveling all across the country and doing all these other things. It can easily come close to $10,000 trying to march drum corps for 1 year. I think it's a beautiful experience for anybody that does it. But what I do recommend, Quan, is that people need to get the hell off of their own campus. The one thing we used to do when we were at Norfolk State, me and Julian both, we gigged everywhere. Everywhere. We were in Right On Band. We were doing this, that. We were doing whatever came up. My first teaching job was at a core style school. Like it was at a high school. Park. Right. I worked at Hershey Park playing trumpet.
I was supposed to get that gig. And Smith's daddy.
Right. Like all these things, Quan, are just as beneficial as spending 3 months in an organization. Like, I think that's a misnomer. I think that when people see black people in core style bands, they automatically assume that all of them march drum corps. And I'm not saying this is you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does it open doors? Yes. I'm not going to sit up here and act like it doesn't. Of course it does, especially if you have the right type of experience. Because the same bigotry we're talking about with how some of our people treat our programs, the same thing happens in drum corps. You tell somebody you march pioneer, somebody going to look at you like, oh, okay.
But what's crazy is this, and I'll be quiet. from my syllogism and my experience, they'll still take that person from Pioneer that might have been trash because it says Pioneers instead of a person like me that says Marching Storm.
I
Because
disagree. I think they'll take that person because their degree says UT and Pioneer, and yours says Marching Storm and no drum corps. I think that's where it comes from, and that's Julian. As you can see, I somewhat agree with you now from that conversation we had a long time ago that turned into an argument.
Finally,
but don't